proof. This is lightweight stuff. We can drink
Lightweight.
that all night.
We
That
have
was on purpose.
we are lightweights. At least I am. I think you're more of a professional.
I don't claim to be. I just do what I do.
You should have heard
try
him.
to talk about it.
He was going off like, bro, I know how to put down the whiskey, bro.
I normally only shelve 115 proof and higher.
He's like, dude, I went to the bar last night, dude.
It's like, give me your strongest whiskey.
Give me the strongest whiskey. Let me see what you got.
And you know what they gave me? Bullet. And I said, that's not it.
Not strong, dude.
That's
Give me
not
some
right.
151, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, well, welcome to the show.
Are we live?
We are live.
Hi, guys. We're glad to have you.
Welcome to tonight's
Welcome to tonight's show.
show. Live and direct, straight to you. What we are talking about tonight is...
What should bike shops be doing?
Should they be sitting around doing nothing?
Well, they should probably be doing some stuff, but there's a lot of things that bike shops do, and there's a lot of things that consumers, who are the customers to bike shops, want them to do or expect them to do. Then there's just opinions on bike shop owners about what they should do, and opinions by people who are going into bike shops about what they should receive there. And we're going to talk about all this because I like this. I like this subject. This because it's come up here and there in the last few weeks, and that's why we're talking about it tonight, because it's come up partly because in my line of work here at the Gingy, I don't sell bicycles to people.
You sell dreams.
I sell dreams. I do miracles, not favors.
You make my dreams come true.
So when people are looking for new bikes and stuff, unless they want something custom and they want me to make it, we do that. But oftentimes they'll be like, well, where should I go? And I will usually, depending on who they are, what their bike is, what part of town they're from, I will send them to as close of a friend bike shop as I can. I have friends who are bike shops. Yes.
We do talk to each other.
Whole bike shops are friends.
Yeah.
I'll send them there. They'll buy their bike, and great. All right, then they get a bike. But this happens all the time.
All the
It
time.
happens
Enough.
frequently with
Yeah.
a regularity that somebody has bought a new bike, and then they're coming to me to get something adjusted, something fixed, maybe a part, something new installed. Like they bought it this way and they wanted to change out this or that. This happens.
Maybe
Fine.
they bought it used off Facebook Marketplace.
Maybe they bought it used. That's not tonight's subject, though.
But you buy something used and you go to an expert and
Yeah, and you want to kind of know
no knowledge.
what needs done to it.
Yeah, and that's
And
reasonable.
what you want to do. But you buy a new bike and you want to change some things. But what happens pretty regularly is these customers don't actually know about their bike.
Yes.
And they don't know certain things, like if it's a mountain bike, what their suspension should be set at. They don't know what to expect from tubeless tires. If it's electronic, either in mountain or road, they don't know how those things work, how to charge it sometimes, how to pair it with their phone and let their phone kind of read what's going on. They don't know if the thing is fit to them correctly.
So they bought a bike
There's
from somewhere else,
Yeah.
and you do custom builds, but you don't sell like bikes.
I don't stock bicycles to sell to people. No, that's not what I do.
So you'll get something like a YT or
Any
An
brand,
online- any
any
brand.
brand, anything
Yeah.
from online or from any bike brand that's sold from a dealer in any bike shop. I am not trying to throw shade on bike shops per se. This is a question out of good faith that we're throwing out to everybody.
Yeah, and tonight's episode is what should bike shops be doing in the community? I think a big thing with this is, bike shops there's a lot of people who get into running it. Well, the main reason a lot of people get into running a bike shop is that they love cycling. And some people get into bike shops just, I don't know, maybe because they don't love cycling. I don't know, but some like
option.
so, people love cycling.
Yeah.
They start running a bike shop, and they are like, well, I want to keep people informed. I want to have a community hub, and get people out on the trail prepared. I think that's where it starts.
Yeah. Ooh, good. Interesting. Yeah.
Which not all bike shops do
It
this.
starts with good intentions.
Good intentions.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially like big box stores, in my experience, generally don't do.
They don't have good intentions.
They don't have.
They have profitable intentions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Which
if
can
I
be
went
good,
into like
but
the
yeah.
local Ford dealership and was like, what are the fun roads to ride? Like, I don't think
Nobody-
anybody, they would be like, go
are you
ride
talking about?
I-25.
I don't know. There's-
What's a fun road? What do you mean? Like, you get in your car
buy
and you're
this?
miserable.
Do you want to buy this or not? Do you want to finance this thing
Yeah,
for
fine.
$1,000 a month or not?
If you buy the car, I'll tell you whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that's like, I mean, car dealerships barely go over like how the knobs in the car work. We talked about this.
Correct.
Like,
They don't. Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of buttons in cars these
There's
days.
a lot of buttons and knobs and dials in cars these days. And if you go buy one, in my experience, every time I bought a car, nobody has showed me how to work anything inside of it other than like making sure that I like know how to start it, push the button or turn the key, whichever, everything's a button now.
The manufacturer is like, put things in the general area where people know where they are, and then
Yeah.
they'll figure out
They'll
the rest.
figure it out. But bikes end up being this whole world where people buy a bike and then there's all of this stuff that they actually need to know about the bike. So my question, to start things off, I know everything was is community, but this is part of it, is, related to this. Like, what should bike shops be doing? I guess there's a few different sort of like arenas of what bike shops should be doing. There's the what should they be doing for each customer question. And then there's the question, what should they be doing for like their general customers who are in regularly? And then there's sort of a like, what should they be doing beyond that? Like for the rest of like the cycling community in their area.
In the community.
We have a bunch of bullet points to hit on all of these. We can go.
Yeah. Let's jump right in.
Yes, okay,
Your
we'll get to
first-
this in a second. So, yeah, these are in no particular order, though, because I didn't organize them.
It's good. We can just freestyle.
I just
baby.
shat them out of my brain into the notes thing on my phone, send it to you.
Straight into the
And it's
metaverse.
basically a list of things that, in my experience, hopefully yours too, people sort of expect the bike shop to do more or less for free. And that's our question. Should the bike shop be doing these things, particularly for free or as part of a sale? All right. So what do we have first?
Well, we started with mountain bikes. So suspension, cockpit setup.
Okay.
So you go into a bike shop, you buy a mountain bike. Mountain bikes, if you're buying a full suspension bike with all the bells and whistles, so dropper post, disc brakes,
tubeless tires,
electric shifting,
electric shifting, suspension
front
with
rear shifting.
air or coil springs and dampers and
If you're buying that
Okay.
from a bike shop, I believe that the bike shop should spend, and you're spending.
spending is the key. Yeah.
You're going into a bike shop and you're spending $3,000 plus. Mm-hmm. You should spend an hour with that customer going over setup.
Okay.
But I think a big thing is that now that bikes are online, where are people getting that from?
Right.
And where does that slack get picked up when a bike shop doesn't offer that?
It's such a great question because I think traditionally it has been expected that if you buy like a bike like that, the bike shop should teach you about most of those things so that you're a ready user when you when you go out.
Curtis
Google
Cole.
RC
We're with Cyclery,
has a
dude.
full area for suspension setup. All right, it's fine. They do. Okay, great point. Curtis Cole says Wheat Ridge Cyclery has a full area for suspension setup.
Yeah.
So they obviously believe that they should be paying employees to set up suspension for bikes and people go out. My point is, and it's just an observation more than anything, is that there are bike shops that don't.
There are quite a few.
All right, Wheat Ridge Cyclery is hard to compare to everything else because they are so large and have been historically so profitable and have a fair bit of money.
Yeah.
Now, you can go on all day about like why. They're not particularly profitable just because they have a suspension setup area. All right. They have a history of everything, so we're not going into that. But there are plenty of bike shops, and this is again my experience. People buy bikes from bike shops and then they don't know how to set up the suspension.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing that for them. And they pay me to do that, which is fine. I love that. Good for me. But on the end of the consumer, I wonder, do they expect that from the bike shop? Or I feel like a little bit we've kind of gotten, it's been not done so long that I don't think people are expecting it as much.
I think I get a lot of people who just have no idea. They like
Right,
bought a
but if the
bike
shop
and-
doesn't bring it up,
Yeah, the shop doesn't bring it up. I mean,
Yeah.
or if you're buying a bike secondhand, like people just don't know that like the amount of people who just get a full suspension bike and just want the shop to like pump it up and go out,
yeah.
that's a pretty large, and you kind of have to break down like you should actually put a shock pump on your fork, you should put a shock pump on the shock, you should do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's meant to be adjusted. Like there's breaking through some of that, like I don't want to break it, and breaking through some of the just like lack of knowledge.
Yeah. We have a very good comment we're going to get to here in a minute, which is, he says, the thing I look for in bike shops is to do for free, he says, is being community oriented, clinics, rides, workshops. Okay. That's actually some of the things that we're going to hit here in a minute. I like it because that is where a lot of people's mind goes when they think about what a bike shop should provide. The first one, I feel it's pretty simple. Something that's as sophisticated as a mountain bike, especially for the money you spend on it, I 100% believe that a bike shop should provide for you a full complement of education when you buy that product.
Yeah, it should be a checklist, comprehensive checklist.
Right. However,
And
it doesn't happen
no,
a lot. To which one might argue this is, quote unquote, what's wrong with shops these days. Why don't they offer it? Why don't they do it? Why do I have customers coming into me having spent 5, 6, 8 grand plus on bikes and their suspension hasn't been set up?
someone's not doing their
So
job.
answer the question though. If you're the business owner on that side of that equation, why don't you do it?
Oh, it's easy to just sell it and push it out. That's what happens is people go in
He
and
said
they're like
push it out
push it
this
out.
way, not,
push it out straight from your blah.
yeah.
I mean, that's why shops do it. It's easy to just say, "Here's your bike."
Yeah,
Good
it's
luck.
it's just easier. I mean, it's a
Shops
it's a,
don't
it's a,
do it.
It's a gamble with the how much money you're putting into getting that
But-
bike out the door.
With a company like Trek going consumer direct, Trek Bikes has always been like, support saying they're going to support shops.
Support the rider, even.
Yeah.
And does a consumer direct sale from a company like Trek support the rider when maybe the education for all that stuff just isn't there?
Yeah. And you can tune a bike from a factory as much as you want. You can make it
Sure.
shift perfectly.
Yeah.
You can tune the brakes. It can ride perfectly, but it's not tuned to the rider. And the reason you buy
Yeah.
a nice full suspension bike is tunability. Your tire pressure. One of the things that we did at the shop is we would take a little piece of tape and you'd write the pressure, a little piece of masking tape, and you could write your pressure on the shock. And so when when the person would go to refill their shock, they knew what the pressure was going to be. So you could put your fork pressure,
Yep.
you put your rear shock pressure.
What we used to do is we would put that information in their owner's manual that they got. In the front page of the owner's manual,
Yeah.
all that information would be in there. What we put your shock pressures at, what we put your saddle height at. I say that's what we did. That's what we aspired to do. On the answer to the question, why don't shops do it? Some don't do it because they feel they're too busy, and that is just a matter of fact that there's a small number of people that can work in a bike shop, and when you're busy and you have to spend, say, an hour with a customer, not only selling them the bike, then additional time educating them on that. That's a person who's not helping four or five other people that are in the store.
Last shop I worked at, they actually had a suspension class. So after you bought your bike,
Sure.
you come back and do a class at 7 o'clock when the shop is closed, which I think is a great idea. Like, it's just better for everyone.
Yep, it's better. I agree.
Everyone teaches everyone else. Like, you say it once, and then you might have to show this person, but then this person gets it, and it just works better. We're all kumbaya. Another reason is overload. Information overload. You've just bought a bike with so many bells and whistles, and you're like, this is a rebound knob, and this is a compression knob, and this is high-speed compression, this is low-speed compression, this is high-speed rebound, low-speed, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, the person's head's like, you've lost them. This is too much. Like,
right, because they're also on the high of just maxing out the credit card.
Here you go.
Yeah.
So I think part of that is like your strategy is how you're gonna take somebody through their cycling journey. Like, how are you gonna take them from, maybe they're coming off of like a $500 mountain bike and they're really like, I love it and I want to go full suspension, and they've never had a rear
This would
shock.
fall under a workshop, like what our Jason here is talking about. So I agree, but I think you and me and most of our people on here and most users would agree that something like this setup of a bike, a mountain bike, a road bike, at least in the basic terms, that should be covered.
Yeah, when you buy a bike from
we
a bike
all agree.
store,
Some shops don't do it. So all I have to say is, if you're a consumer, ask those questions. Do not be afraid to ask the questions.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you're supposed to believe that you know everything. It's fine to not know, and I do believe that most shops and most employees, they're fine with that, and they want to answer the questions when you ask them. So ask the questions. Get these things that you should get. Some things you should get for free from bike shops. The setup of your bike and a good operational understanding of what you just spent a bunch of money on, you should have. That should be included.
Now, I think that shops, to answer the question of somebody bought something online, now they want to come into you to tap into your wealth of knowledge. They want to go over the full setup.
Pay up, baby.
That should be, that's like a good hour session.
If you bought a bike online, or you bought a bike used, and then you want to know how all this stuff works, and you're going to ask and you're going to receive knowledge and expertise from people, you should pay for it.
Yeah, tires, suspension, a basic, like, not a fitting. I don't want to call it a fitting, but like, let's get your saddle in the right range.
All fitting is basic fitting.
Yeah, we're not pulling out like a plumb bob and checking if you're
pulling out the lasers and the smokes and the mirrors, baby.
The disco music, but like, you should understand
the 30-point questionnaire that feels like your therapy session.
Yeah. Like, how do you feel right now?
What are your goals for your cycling
What's
journey
your chakras?
in the next 6 months? Sorry.
But you pay for a service.
We pretend to shit on fitters and only.
Actually, that's a great way for fitters to make more money, is go over how to set up suspension and do a suspension workshop.
Yeah.
But that should be something. You buy a bike online, you get a great deal. Awesome. Go into the local bike shop. An hour of their time, $100 and some. Yeah.
And be aware, most shops aren't going to have a line item on their labor board for this sort of thing.
And they should. They should have educational workshops.
I agree. But it's probably not for most. which again is on you as a consumer. Just walk in and be like, hey,
And-
what's it cost for you guys to help me set up my suspension? They'll have an answer.
Yeah.
So just ask.
I mean, a cool interactive way is to use something like YouTube. Like, hey, we're going to go over this, and then I'll share a video about some specific things about like basic setup. Like,
Yeah.
great strategy. If you're a shop, you can do a little video. It doesn't have to be super fancy as long as you can hear it and see. Like that. Also, if you're paying for a service, you should know what you're getting. Like, we're going to cover tires. We're going to cover front and rear suspension. We're going to cover do's and don'ts of disc brakes. Like, don't grab your rotor and lick it and pour olive oil on it. You know, disc brakes are a little different. If you-
Avocado oil only.
yeah. No.
Oh, no?
We don't want to
Sorry,
spread
we're
misinformation.
off avocado now.
If this goes viral, dude, everyone's pouring avocado oil.
We are always going viral.
Constant viralness.
Virility.
But yeah, I mean, shops should have a 20-point, whatever you want to call it, mountain bike setup to
Yep.
get you enjoying everything.
You hear that, bike
your
shops? Listen to us.
We make the money.
You know what's up.
Eh,
All right. What?
Actually, I should do that. This should be my job. You don't need a lot of tools. You know, a shock pump, a tire pump.
Dude.
This is my
All right,
new
here we
thing.
go.
Trailhead
Mobile
suspension
set. Yeah, just
setup. Yeah, we'll run through suspension. Okay, this is I got a new job, dude.
All right, done. All right.
Party. I'm gonna make
Glad
$1
to hear.
million.
You are gonna make $1 million.
$1 million. But shops should have educational classes. They can get 2 or 3 people in at a time. The shop can make some money. The people get the knowledge,
Okay.
and everyone's happy.
Yes.
Or, you know what? A company like YT or an online brand maybe should make a deal, like make somebody
Maybe
their
should have a
designated
local partner.
a local partner.
They should have a local partner, not a dealer, but a local partner.
Yeah.
Maybe a location that can handle answering questions for people who receives a certain amount of money for setting up somebody's suspension and
Yeah.
basic fitting. I'm sure they'd have to go through some sort of process to be approved for this. But you know what else this organization or this business would be able to do easily? Perhaps warranty. That's a whole nother episode. But shops owe everything to their customers, nothing to the community. Bum bum bum.
We're getting there.
We're
getting there. Curtis is.
We started with the low-hanging fruit, which is we all agree that like your suspension setup, how to use your electronic shifters, how to use your gears, that stuff should all be how often to pump up your tires, that kind of stuff. That should all be part of what you get when you buy a bike. However,
There's situations.
there is one thing
situations
that I just need to mention that bike shops have failed at for years
Ooh.
and
Oh.
years
Now I'm
and years
interested.
in educating their customer. The number one.
He's
if you
heated.
could say, I'm not heated. I'm
heated.
I'm direct.
I've never seen
I
this
am.
fire come out.
I am convinced. All right.
Okay.
I want your opinion first,
Okay.
because then I'll share mine because mine's right. What is, in your opinion, the number one education failure of bike shops for their customers when the customers buy a new bike? Number one, you get to name one thing.
Number one failure. So there's gosh, I don't know. The timer's going. You name it, because I don't know what our number one failure is.
Front derailleur trim function on road bikes. Hands down,
But
no question.
Bikes don't have front derailleurs anymore.
No, they still do. Road bikes all have front derailleurs still.
Yeah, okay.
And a large number of them are still mechanical and have been for many, many, many,
Okay,
many years.
Please tell people what trim function is before you start yelling, trim function. The earth is flat. Trim function. What is trim function? Because like everyone's like,
What the fuck is this guy talking about? He's so worked up about nothing. I am, it is a real thing, friends. And many of you don't know. Okay.
which I religiously went over trim function when I worked at a shop. So when you say what is,
did. Of course I did.
I came from an era where triple rings were hot. Mid 2000s, dog.
Baby, both of us. Okay, so trim function is a feature built into the shifters of road bikes that allows you to use the full range of the cassette on either chainring or third chainring respectively. It's a little bit of a half click built into the shifter before you go into the shift to the next chainring. So if you're in the low gear and you start to go to the high and the chain starts to rub the front derailleur, you give that shifter a little half click and it moves the front derailleur a couple millimeters, makes the noise go away.
Yeah,
The next click over, it's going to shift into the next chainring. All right. This is built into every road shifter for years and years and years.
if it's
And very, very few bike shops, you are exceptional if you did this, have taught people how to use this feature.
okay, so
I
if you have
spent
two rings up front,
consistently much time.
Let's tell people
so
what
much
it is.
time, the most time.
well, let's
I've
spread the
spent
knowledge.
so much time
If it has two
teaching
gears,
people how to use this feature. Yes, two
if
gears.
it has two gears up front, so
Yeah.
two front chain rings, how many clicks are in the derailleur?
If it has two gears up front,
Yep. How many?
how many clicks?
How many clicks does the derailleur go?
Two.
4.
Well, two.
Yeah,
Each
it
way,
clicks
yeah.
4 times because you have a trim feature. That's my point. See, we need to work on talking to the people, Jason. You can't just yell on camera. But your front derailleur,
Oh, yes, I can.
the front derailleur, your front chainring has 2 rings, has 4 clicks.
Right.
That's that trim function that he's talking about.
Yes. So as a service center only for the last 5 years, and then a bike shop, which was highly service centric
Yeah.
for 7 years prior to that, hands down, the number one thing I have to teach people that they never learn from buying their bike. People who have owned their bike for years
Dude, it is a constant
and
battle.
they don't know, or they bring it in and they think the shifting's off
Yeah.
because they don't know how to use this feature. They're like, oh, this needs adjusted. It's making noise. And they're just
Yeah,
like, well,
there's-
it's actually adjusted right. Or people get it's adjusted wrong, and then people get used to it being adjusted wrong, and then you adjust it right.
What does sometimes 5 mean? Sorry to interrupt. 5 clicks.
Curtis Cole, tell us 5.
5 clicks.
Enumerate your 5 clicks,
He's talking about a triple chain ring. If it's
Yeah,
a
if it's
triple
a
chain
triple.
ring, then it has 5 clicks. I wanted to make it easy math-wise.
Oh,
Oh, you got to shut that off.
5 click.
It disengaged.
back.
Okay, a little technical, but
yeah.
sometimes 5. So, but the big point is, let's reel in it. Is a lot of shops,
They're failing in
And-
the education.
yeah, shops like Performance Cycle, which has gone out of business.
Yeah.
Like they're just pumping bikes out into the world. They're just pia 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 pia.
Yep.
Pia pia pia.
Yeah.
Maybe a Bicycle Village.
Yeah.
You think they're
There's
teaching
all-
people?
It's so many. It's so many bike shops. And sure, I got a little worked up about it, but my point was teaching
He's got passion on trim, dog.
Well, teaching people about trim function is so easy. It
Yeah.
really doesn't take long. It's a simple thing, and it's something they encounter in the operation of their bike every single time they use it. That it should have been like, it should be like commonplace for people to know
we
what
just need
trim
to do a
is.
separate video on trim.
But we shouldn't. It's been around for,
Front
geez, like
derailleurs.
20 years. Over 20 years.
Yeah. And if you ride a mountain bike, you have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you ride a mountain bike, thank you. You're fine.
If you ride a modern mountain bike, you have no idea.
I don't know of any mountain bike that's had
No
a
mountain
trim
bike
function
has,
built
yeah,
into it.
no mountain bikes. If you ride a mountain bike, if it's a 2-ring, you get 2 clicks, and if it's a 3-ring, you get 3 clicks. This is a road bike function
Right.
in there.
Wow.
So let's move on because we've only covered like 2 topics.
2 topics. It's already 8:30, but that's okay. We'll blow through because
Party time.
party.
Hosting rides. I think I want to jump to that because hosting rides is a big thing. I've worked at multiple shops that have hosted rides.
Yeah. Should bike shops host rides?
Should they? If anybody has a comment, feel free to comment. We'd love to hear from you. I worked at a shop that hosts rides, and rides have always been kind of this double-edged sword, where it's like
Okay.
great to get people together. You all go out on a ride. cool. But then after the ride, people come in and they're like, hey, so I was on the ride last night.
Yeah.
And insert any scenario. Go.
Yeah.
I was on the ride last night.
My chain was rubbing when I was in the small ring, and my
I was
high
on the
gears,
ride last night.
Yeah.
I was on the
I
ride
think
last
my
night.
derailleur
and-
needs adjusted. It turns out you don't know how to use your trim function. Let me teach you how to use that.
I mean, weird stuff happens on group rides. We had a guy that was
People
A
get married
speed
on group
skater.
rides. Oh yeah.
show up on our rides, and
With his speed skates on?
which is great. Like like nobody had a problem at first, but the problem became that
Everybody found out.
the
Right.
problem the
Sorry.
problem was is when a speed skater drafts you on a bike, he is in your butt. Okay? Like, so this became an issue. And we had to ask the speed skater to not come on the bicycle
To
ride.
debuttify his face.
Because he was making people uncomfortable because he was literally putting his face in other people's asses. So, things like this happen on group rides, and this is why we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice. Well, it's a very good
Things
point
like that.
because sometimes in a group ride, you're trying to provide something great, something nice, something that everybody enjoys, something that you enjoy yourself, and then you end up with a situation where you've got to deal with something that's not really in your like realm of expertise. Like, oh, how do I help somebody understand that this is not the best way to? This is
Like,
not how
we're-
we draft bicycles.
Well, and we're hosting a ride. We're not making all the rules. You need to come as an adult and follow like the rules of the road and the rules of like being with other humans. Every week we would get, is the ride canceled? And we had a policy, if it was
Yeah.
40%, we
Rain.
would not we would not ride. And this was in North Carolina, so like it rained pretty often.
They got a lot of rain last week.
Yeah, too much rain.
They got too
The
much.
ride was canceled.
The ride was canceled.
The ride was
last week.
canceled. So like every week, you know,
Yeah.
they're calling, a mechanic picks up the phone, they're like, is the ride canceled? You're like,
Hey, is the ride canceled?
I
don't know.
I don't know, dude. I'm fixing a trim function.
I'm teaching somebody how to use the trim function.
Teaching somebody how to do a trim function. So like, you know, it's great, but then a lot of times the shop employees have to like field these questions. You know, somebody's trying to get out on the group ride and their bike's broken, and you have to tell them like, hey, we can't fix this
Yeah.
in 10 minutes.
I don't have an answer for the group ride question because I have two. There's good experiences and there are bad experiences. I worked at a bike shop in Virginia Beach, and we had a Saturday morning group road bike ride. 7:30, we went out. We were back by 9:30 to open the shop. All right, and that was a good experience.
If it's
I don't
casual,
exactly. I don't. It would no. It was a pretty like. Maybe we developed the culture where it was a fairly intense ride. Like, 'cause people who showed up were ready to ride. They knew that they
Yeah.
had to be there by 7:30. We were leaving.
like the ride
some of that was-
leaves.
Yeah, it was built, and it was good. It worked well. The thing is, I was a low rung employee at that store, so I don't actually know what went into the full organization.
You
of
only
the
made
thing.
$7 an hour.
I was making $7.50 at that point. Yeah.
East Coast.
And then I dabbled with trying to run. Well, every shop I've worked in has tried to dabble with running group rides. And you just run into so many things. One is you run into the fact that you have to have somebody lead it each
Yeah.
week, which means you either need to have an employee there, and that employee is going to ask if they're getting paid for that or not, which is a question that has to be answered.
Then if it's a
An
non-employee,
employee leading a shop group ride should get paid.
but then that opens you up to, what are they in charge
Are
of?
they on overtime? Do you restructure their day so that they're not working overtime because of the? I mean, are they making time and a half to go ride their bike?
Oh my God, what if they made $16 an hour?
Oh boy! Like these are, all
And
considerations.
well, what's the liability? Are they responsible to?
Well, that's the other question when it comes to these group rides. I actually don't know the full answer to this. I have seen multiple bike shop owners say that their insurance company and lawyers have told them do not run a group ride.
Yeah.
Because basically you can't really cover yourself in the instance of something happening.
If people want to organize and meet at the shop, they can do that.
Sure.
But once you have somebody leading a ride, because I was on a ride, one of the shop rides I did, the guy in front of me wasn't paying attention, and we were pretty tight together. Front guy laid on the brakes. This dude just nails into him, flips over the bars, not paying attention.
Yeah.
And like I think about that, and I'm like, well, that was on a group ride. Like,
Oh yeah, I had the ride in Virginia Beach I was talking about. I had a guy behind me hit a stick in the street, crash and break his collarbone.
I mean, some people would say,
Somebody would say, well, but there's people who are gonna try to sue you for that. Now he was in the Navy, so he was taken care
you
of.
say,
He was fine.
I don't know, a VA.
I mean, if you're active,
If you're active, you're done.
fine.
You're fine. Yeah,
You're
they're
fine.
gonna get you back on.
Yeah, you'll.
But
They need
afterwards-
You, they need you back. He was a helicopter pilot too, so he needed that arm to work.
joysticks, man.
Yeah. But group rides, dude, it's so tough. I love the idea of group rides. I think we all love the idea of group rides, right? We just like
Yeah.
riding
Well, I
bikes.
get our friends together
We love riding bikes with our friends,
and go for a ride.
a bike shop is it's kind of a natural place for that to sort of
great hub.
evolve out of. There's other places that organize them. I think the organization of group rides, honestly, I think it needs to be on other people to do.
Yeah, outside. It's
As
a
a
volunteer.
shop owner and a manager and like the time, you don't have that extra time, especially when we're talking ride season. You're working so hard already, your time is maxed, and then to throw in extra, you have to have a really, really, really successful, profitable business to have an extra person who has the time to be able to organize this stuff. And surprise, surprise, that's not bike shops.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think group riding, I'm kind of with you. I think group riding is great, awesome.
And if
should
somebody-
be organized by someone and use the shop as a meetup, that's fine.
Yeah, and if somebody is taking the time to organize a ride for your shop, you should do something for them. You know.
Yeah,
like,
pump up their tires for them.
I
lube
would
their
go a
chain-
little-
lube their
I would
chain.
go a little further. I would say maybe do a little discount, like hook somebody up if they're putting a work
Give
in.
them like a secret high five.
yeah.
Like sometimes a secret high
with
five.
like the finger movement that makes you feel all weird
Yeah, gives you
inside.
that little tingle. Yeah, baby.
But like, you know, I think one thing, as a special thing that happened at our shop is we passed along, like we did the Kona grassroots thing where somebody can get a discount on a bike. If somebody was organizing rides, they could get a great deal on a bike.
Yep. Yeah, that stuff is great.
Yeah.
If you can get somebody outside the organization, throw them a bit of a bone that doesn't cost you anything extra, and they can organize it, great. But
Great.
when it comes down to the shop owner or a manager or someone,
And the shop is separate. This is
yeah, I'm with you. I think removing the shop from organizing it is good from a liability standpoint. You don't need it, and they don't have the time for it. Like when I had them in my store, we tried to do it, but like then we'd come to the end of the day on ride day, and we'd still be like slammed. We couldn't get out the door to go to the ride
yeah. Yeah, it's
because we were
you're
teaching
running
people
a
how
business.
to
Yeah.
set up their suspension.
And like, it does bring in some business having group rides, but it's not like crazy. It's like Cliff Bars, tubes, and tire levers.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not
If somebody's expectations for what they get are higher than that, then they can
yeah.
kiss the ass.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have a really big group ride, like you'll make like the shop might make a couple $100. Like if you're lucky.
No, yeah, it's
If
not
you're
going to be a
lucky.
moneymaker. It falls under the building of community, which is another thing that we're
Yeah.
getting to. Anyway,
Let's
what's
get the next
group
thing.
rides. I think that's where
I think the next thing is race teams.
okay.
Shop race teams.
We're not going to go long on this because this can be a whole episode. Should a shop sponsor race teams? Only if they want to.
Only if they are very passionate about that type of
Similarly, I don't
racing.
think a shop should start a race team. Again, from the time commitment of organization, shop management or employees don't have the time for that because there's not enough of a return from the race team for that. If they want to sponsor a race team that already exists and then it's come to them for sponsorship, that's up to the ownership and the management. If you want to, do it. I did it for like multiple teams for years. It was not a huge moneymaker.
No, it doesn't.
However, I loved doing it.
You heard it here first.
I loved doing it. It connected me to that competitive end of cycling that always wants like new product, top end product, and kind of pushes you to be at the top of your game a little bit, in terms of like expectations of what you provide. Now, granted, some of it's at a discount. I get that, but it's a different set of customer expectations than, I'm going to say it, than just your bike commuter.
Yeah, it's a different.
So I enjoyed it. I liked those customers. I liked meeting them. I liked talking racing with them. That's something I enjoyed. And it was a part of our store when I had the store. I sponsored 1, 2, 3, I think 4, maybe 5 teams total. Like, which is more than I should have, probably.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But at the same time, you think, as a owner, you think to yourself, well, I can bring them in. That's going to be, even if we're giving you a discount, it's something. And I think it did work fine for me overall because it wasn't all our business.
Racing keeps the industry moving. That's an interesting thing. Does it though? Like, on one hand,
Totally. I mean, yeah.
on one hand, yeah, it keeps it moving, but also where does it disconnect from? I'm not a racer. I honestly, in this point in my life, I don't really follow any type of
Right,
racing.
but how much of the product you use right now is the result of advances that were made for racing years ago?
I mean, honestly, like,
All of it.
I don't want any.
All of it.
All of it?
Carbon bike frames?
I hate 'em.
All right. Yours is.
I own one. I hate it. I don't like it.
Your one by drivetrain
No.
definitely was.
I mean, yeah, carbon frames are nice and everything, but like,
I'm just
most
saying.
people don't need that.
Remember, needs a big word,
Needs a big word.
right? Needs a big word. So, Curtis Cole, wants to know who the best team was. Oh, Curtis, no, Modern Market. They were the best. Actually, they weren't. They were fine. They were fine. There's no best team.
I mean, there's, but I also think that there is a lot of emphasis in the cycling world towards racing where, like, not everyone races. Not everybody wants to be a racer, and that's the other side of it where, like, yes, we've gotten some, maybe some great pushes to make something to be a great race product, but there's a shit ton of people out there that don't race bikes, that don't care about racing.
Most don't. Most don't.
And so,
But that's why I say, like, if you're a shop owner or in management of a shop, if you want to sponsor a race team, then you can do that. But I don't think you have to do that to build your customer base otherwise.
One of the things that Scott did at the shop I worked at was have a commuter team. Which is just...
Commuting is not competitive.
I don't know how you commute. Have you been on Bike to Work Day lately?
Not for 5 years at this point.
A lot of people commuting.
No,
But it was actually a little bit of a rebellious thing against the team thing that was, yeah, we have a commuter team. If you join the commuter team, you get a little discount.
I remember them doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. A little play on how a lot of shops market. And a lot of shops also ignore a lot of the everyday rider.
But I just want to throw in, just because a shop sponsors 1 or 2 like race teams, that doesn't mean they don't care about anyone else.
Yeah.
That's an assumption that people can make that's just misplaced. Like, a shop can do, I think mine did a pretty good job. Like I said, we sponsored a number of teams, but we also, part of it was because of our location, part of it was because of our our drive to be service oriented was like we took care of commuters constantly on the regular. And we weren't known as like a race shop or a commuter shop.
You and I and how the shops were run were also very different than a lot of shops, because there are a lot of shops that are angled on the competitive side that don't take care of people, and that's where
Sure.
that's where, like, racing's fine. I'm not against racing, but there's a lot of people.
And
who,
I'd say from shop to shop, it can go both ways, because there's shops that are like, oh, well, we're a commuter shop. You ride a road bike, a race bike. Oh, we
dude,
don't help you.
Don't
like,
even
it goes
get me
both ways.
When
so.
I was younger, and I strictly rode BMX for a while. That's what I did. If you bring a BMX bike into a shop, and you're like, "Hey, I'm having this problem," like I could not get service at a lot of shops. They'd be like, "We're not a BMX shop."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh."
Do you have a hammer and a crescent wrench?
Yeah.
You're a BMX shop.
Yeah, like this is
Like, this is
Neanderthal,
easy.
like technology.
Come
it's
on.
Just, like, oh, I don't know how to work on that. Like,
Yeah.
it's BMX. I'm like, dude, it's a bike. Like,
it's as
not,
simple as it gets. Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
I think that is a perspective of people who don't think that a BMX rider has any money to pay them, and so they're just not going to deal with it.
I had actually some of my.
So if you walked in and you had like some hundies like kind of
we
spilling
didn't
out
have Teslas back
spilling
in.
out your pocket, that's how you would know like, hey, I need this bike fixed.
Well, there's
then
a-
they'd be like, oh yeah,
There's a lot of BMXers that are independent pharmaceutical reps.
many,
Many.
multiple,
They have a pager.
so many, yeah.
And they ride BMX, and
Exactly.
that's part of the culture of it.
Correct. Agreed. And they like paper money.
One of the things when I first started riding BMX, I went into a shop to have my handlebars tightened. It was the shop I bought the bike from, and I
Did they
went
need
back.
tightened or did they need an insert?
And no, they were moving. Like I was jumping stuff and getting radical, and I went in and they readjusted my bars, and I went and dropped off the curb, and my handlebars just went like fell forward, and I almost went over the bars. And I had to go back in, but it,
Kept your teeth, thankfully.
Yeah, but that shops can often discriminate towards people just because they're either just a road shop or just a mountain shop.
Sure, that could
And
happen.
that's the frustrating part that I've run into, like in my early days. I don't know how we got on this subject, but race
We're
teams.
talking about race teams.
Yeah,
Again,
race teams.
I stick by my guns. Like, if you want to, fine, do it. I'm not gonna like. Nobody else can tell you whether or not you should.
So
Let's hit some
the
more.
next thing is transportation and
What?
commuting.
What? Oh, like
Education.
using a. Oh.
So, let's say, like in the city of Denver, we build all these bike lanes and weird new bike lanes and intersections that have bike-specific traffic lights
Ooh, yes.
and protected bike lanes and some very
And
interesting
bike lanes
intersections.
that are like on the wrong side of the street from where you normally would ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff going on, and people are trying. Like,
People are trying.
people are
True.
trying to make a better place for cycling.
Yes.
That's amazing. But who is going to tell everyone?
Whose responsibility is it to educate people on how to use this infrastructure? I have heard
Yes.
on more than one occasion that bike shops should be educating people on this stuff. And this is one of these areas where I agree in concept, but I disagree
Where's my grant?
in practice. Like if a customer is in, they're buying something and they ask a question, you're going to answer, right? You should.
There
If
should
you're
be-
in a bike shop and somebody asks you a question, answer the question, because I just said that people should ask questions. So yes, answer the question. However, I don't think it should be the bike shop's job to proactively build education programs to help people use the infrastructure that gets built by the city. And I think that is something that gets to be expected of shops. And I disagree. False.
False. False
Curtis
on
is-
what?
I don't
What
know.
subject? There's a delay, so I don't know what Curtis is saying. False on. Like,
I think
we
Curtis
would
is
hand
with
out.
us. Curtis does not think that. I don't think Curtis believes that bike shops should be educating people on how to use
bike lanes,
infrastructure.
and sometimes it comes down to common sense and it's sometimes also, if you move here from somewhere that's not a big city, you live in a small town, you don't have congested traffic.
Or you move here from somewhere that has terrible infrastructure.
And you don't ride your bike.
Right, and then you're like, holy cow, there's so many bike lanes, and people in Denver are like, well, they're yes, there are, but they're terrible. That's our perspective.
They're weird.
Right.
One of the things I've seen is cars pulling into the bike lane.
Yeah.
Not only like parking in the bike lane, but there's been a protected bike lane and someone doesn't know where to turn, and they're actually driving on the wrong side of the cones.
I had the
in the bike lane.
delightful pleasure of blocking somebody from doing that the other week.
Like, this is my lane.
I was in my car as well.
Don't do that.
Somebody went into the bike lane to pass traffic that was still, and so I could see them in my rearview mirror, and I said, nope. So I turned mine over just enough to where they couldn't get through to say, no, you don't get to use the bike lane as a travel lane.
Here's my gripe
Anyway,
is cities do all this. They spend an insane amount of money.
They spend a moderate amount of money.
How much does a mile of 4-lane road cost?
A mile of 4-lane road is not a bike lane.
Yes, but
A mile of
A
4-lane
bike
road
lane is
costs a
part of
ton.
that.
But bike lanes are always added after the fact. The road's been built, and then they paint or they add a strip or put in some things because they narrowed a lane from 12 to 10 or something like that.
It's still hundreds of thousands of dollars to put the bike lane in.
Yes.
To architecture.
There is money, but they are not the same amount of money as it does to make like full roads.
My point is like a road like Broadway, maintenance costs,
Yeah.
building it, adding a bike lane later, putting the cones for the protected bike lane, putting all that stuff is not cheap.
It's not cheap, no.
It's not. That's hundreds of thousands, if not millions
You
of
could
dollars.
argue cheap relatively.
And we
but,
could probably find out of
Yeah.
what it costs to put that bike lane in. But I'd say the whole stretch.
like you and I couldn't afford it.
No. all I'm saying is if you're spending $1 million to put a bike lane on this large stretch of road,
Yeah.
maybe take some money and put it towards education.
Exactly that.
Like-
Agreed. 100%.
Like 10 or 20 grand. In the grand scheme of things, as a city putting something towards education, and I feel
And
like
not just for bikers, but for drivers as well.
I feel like cities, Denver is the exception. Denver actually puts a lot towards cycling, but put something towards education is a big point. Like
Yeah.
put together a media plan where you're actually doing like snippets, meet people where they are. Like do a social media campaign where it's like, we're gonna do how to ride in a bike lane or what's changing about bike law.
Right. Yeah. What's new about what's this Broadway lane all about? Yeah.
Did you know that you can run through red lights? You don't
Well,
have
I
to
did because
stop.
I know stuff.
No, but it's a new law that
Right.
one, you can treat red lights like a stop sign. After you stop, you
Mm-hmm.
can look. And I'm not a lawyer, but no, like there's no education. And after Denver passed the law to make it legal for bikes to safely roll through stop signs and treat red lights, it's a law now. Look it up. Make sure you understand it before you take my word on it.
It
Just
is
gonna
called
cover
the
myself
safety stop.
legally.
Yeah.
The safety stop. But like there was a bunch of weird content about, and it had motorcycles, and it was like, look what motorcycles can do in Denver now. And I'm like,
Well, there's a new
who-
thing that motorcycles are allowed to do.
They're allowed to split lanes.
They're allowed to split lanes.
Yeah, but not run lights.
No.
People were taking
People are conflating them.
Yes,
Yeah.
taking that bicycles who do not have a large motor on them could run stop signs. I saw multiple posts about this, and I was like, what is this? What is this? And this is a failing of social media, but like,
It's a failing of the government to build the thing and not educate the people who are using it. Which is like I said, it's not just the bike people, the drivers as well.
but it's a,
Everybody needs to learn how to use it.
and
But is
Bike
this the realm of what bike shops need to be doing? I'm gonna say no. You've got other stuff to deal with. You're busy enough. that teaching people how to use the roads that the city is building is not your job.
No. I think
It would be sorry.
I think it'd be great to. I mean,
It would be great.
it would be great.
What would be great? You tell me.
Handing out things like maps, teaching people how to use their bike lock that they're buying from you with their bike, using that in the best way that you can.
Yep.
Things like that. Yeah, that's on the bike shop. Like teach people some if they're buying
I
a
think
lock
some
from
things
you.
are in our next ones. All right. Well, that one's that one. What else did we have? We might need to go lightning round on some of these. It's 8:56.
Oh no.
Let's go lightning round. Let's just go.
Maintenance. We kind of covered teaching new bike owners how their bike works, trim function. We definitely covered trim function.
We beat that horse to death. What else?
Okay, troubleshooting apps.
Troubleshooting. Okay, no, yeah.
Troubleshooting
this one-
apps.
So
when did we become a tech company?
I'm not a tech company. I'm not a tech guy. I don't know why your Wahoo computer won't connect with Bluetooth to your kicker trainer. I don't know. I
Okay.
have no way to find out other than to Google it the same way you do. No. Now, if you're a consumer and this is your issue and you have this question, you can ask. And if somebody there has experienced this issue, they can answer it. Beyond that, no.
It's $100. You
Because-
do what every other person does when they have a problem with technology. You call a phone number, you get somebody in a call center,
Yeah.
you barely can understand them, and you have to try to do it, and they talk to you like you're an idiot, and
Yeah.
you go, okay, yes, I did turn it on and off. And then they go, okay, but then did you turn it on and off? And then you go, yes, I did turn it on and off. And then you pay the guy at the bike shop
So let's go
$100.
back in time a few years. How many times have you reprogrammed like a Cat Eye or an Avocet computer for someone when all you did was like try to look online and see if the manual for it still exists? Like
What?
this, like
What
I'm s-
was the
like,
was the
I-
code for 700 by
like I have a
23?
1998 Avenir computer.
There was a
Can
code.
you program it to my
There
my
was a code
wheel
to punch
size?
it in. It was like 2231 or something. All
The
computers.
only thing we know is that we know there's a little bit more to know.
Flight deck.
Yeah, Flight Deck, which I have installed plenty of.
Dude, virtual cadence, bro.
But Flight Deck, it does fall into one of those things where you sell them that item, so should you teach them how to use it? My point on this one bullet point was like people come in with any...
Well,
They can come in with like, oh, I have this whatever brand power meter and it's not syncing up to my whatever brand head unit. Or it's like, oh, the power meter reading's inconsistent. Sometimes it's this and sometimes it's that. No. Fucking no, we don't do... I don't know how to do that.
I think
Nobody
if you-
does.
if you-
I'm not a computer scientist. Is it scientist? Software engineer?
I think it's just
Whatever
IT
fucking
support.
this stuff is. It's
IT support.
I will start with turn it off and turn it back on, and then I will start, and then next I will go to Reddit, and then like that's all I'm doing. Like I'm not. Do you want to pay me $100 an hour to look on Reddit?
Seriously,
Like
Jason's in the back on two computers. He's on a swivel chair and he's like typing in code furiously.
just like
Well, he's
oh, yeah.
sweating.
Oh, I see. Well, you've got a corruption in line 37, point B.
Like we're gonna have to get our top
No.
engineers on this. Like I think that's a good question because more and more bike components are going to have apps.
Yeah, they have
And
apps and
when
something.
is it your job to diagnose that? That is not a function of the bike. If it's not a function of the bike, if it's your training metrics, that's on you, or pay me to figure it out.
Yeah, pay me
Pay.
the full amount to figure it out. So no.
Go get coffee and come back and give me $100 US.
Yes.
Most
so
premium.
Should we be helping you with this stuff? Only if you're willing to pay. You got to be willing to pay. And the reality, here's the thing though. I'm going to say this. The reality is a lot of customers who are coming in with this sort of, some are just have a question about it, but some are trying to like probe for free warranty, which is disingenuous, and it happens, and I know it happens because people have done it. They're trying to probe for a free warranty because something's just, maybe it needs to be warranty. Maybe you don't know how to use it. I don't know, but there is some of that going on. Which I just say, don't be like that.
Okay, here's a big one. Person comes in, component compatibility. They come in, they want to kind of probe your brain about, does this front derailleur that has 5 steps of trim, actually front derailleurs don't have trim.
It's the shifter.
The shifter has it. But this front derailleur, and front derailleurs were the perfect thing because back in the day, there were so many front derailleur options. You had to be a mathematician to figure out if it's, where does the cable pull from? Is it top pull? Is it bottom pull? Is it around the corner,
Top
back to
swing,
grandma's house,
bottom
top
swing.
Which
Yeah.
way do you swing, buddy? And
Swing from the top.
and you know, somebody's coming in, they're like, I want to buy this, and you're like, you have to figure out if it works. And then the diameter of your seat tube.
Yep. All of those things. So, does a shop provide the answers to compatibility questions for free? Wait, is this who's
Guest
CP
speaker.
this week?
You're welcome to swing by and be the guest
Yeah,
speaker.
pop on by. Who is
It's
that?
going to cost you $100.
Yeah. Come on by.
So compatibility. Compatibility. If we can't say it, you probably shouldn't be
so
asking
tough
us.
because like my initial response is if you know the answer, give it to them. But what are you giving them? Something that you have of value to them. You're giving it to them for free.
Yes. If it's a good
Or
customer.
you have, as a dealer for multiple places, you also have access to certain websites and accounts that let you find that information pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, though, that question is being brought in by somebody who, in many cases, doesn't intend to buy the product from you.
Does this work with this?
Yes, answer the question. If you
Yeah.
can do it in a short, reasonable amount of time, answer the question. Or if it takes you a minute to look it up, answer the question. I say yes.
Or, you know, say, leave your name and number.
Are
and
people
going
going to take advantage of you at a certain point? Maybe. Are they going to end up buying the wrong thing sometimes? Yes, and then maybe they need to get the right thing from you. Does it give you the opportunity to say, yes, actually, I can get you the right product, the right thing for you. We can get it in a X number of days. That gives you the opportunity to do that. And some people will be like, you know what, go ahead, that's fine.
Yeah. Sometimes it makes a sale, but sometimes it wastes an incredible amount of time.
You're not
Like,
wrong. You're not
if
wrong.
you are lacing a hub to a rim and you need to figure out spoke length, or you need to figure out a certain part inside of a shock and you have to go look at a schematic, or God forbid, you have to call Fox and say, hey, I got this weird thing going on.
Right.
That wastes a lot of time. And where does that, essentially it comes down to money. And a lot of times the person that gets squeezed, and we've talked about at the shop, is the mechanic. The mechanic gets squeezed for time and gets squeezed for money, their salary. And so, yeah, shops.
Chat's going off the rails. People are making dinner plans in the chat.
Oh, old Chicago? I'm down. Is that code for something? Did I miss?
I don't know what we missed. Anyway, what's next? Answering all the questions.
I like
Use
your
your
approach.
judgment. Answer as quickly as you can. If it becomes problematic,
If you're spending, like, the thing is like, if you're doing like a custom bike build, like
Yeah.
somebody would come in and ask, like, hey, I want to build this with this kit and this fork, and you have to sit down and figure all that out. It's a custom build.
Yep.
And there's no guarantee that they're going to buy it, and that can waste a ton of time. If
waste a
you're
ton of time.
calculating wheels, if you're getting a quote for certain suspension, that's that wastes a lot of time. So looking up
The answer
stuff.
is do your best to keep that interaction short and
Do your research.
easy. Because on the flip side, though, sometimes those interactions give you the opportunity to learn something,
Yeah.
which is valuable in its own right. So you can take that as well, because then you know the answer next time. So, all right, lightning round. Go, go, go. Next. Ooh.
I'm stumping here. I'm stumping, guys.
Just-
We did component compatibility, supporting local cycling nonprofits.
Yeah. Should
Lucky
bike
Bikes.
shops support local cycling nonprofits, financially or otherwise?
I mean, a big thing is at the end of the year, you have a bunch of random parts at your shop, and you
You
gotta
have a
get
bunch
rid
of
of them.
money and you don't want to get taxed for it. Oh, that's not what happens.
No, not that.
That's
This is
not what
like
happens.
the pile of stuff. You can't sell it, but you want to get
Yeah.
rid of it.
Someone says we both have booze face. Yeah. Yeah, welcome to 9 o'clock on Tuesday.
It's 9 o'clock on Tuesday. I need more water. This is called the live stream, buddy.
Yep.
This is how we build community.
It's true. We haven't spit up on the floor yet.
We're cooking, but nonprofits.
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 Ooh, we're playing
Dude,
footsies.
they play such a role in the community. Like having, we have like Lucky Bikes, and they take donations.
Yep.
And they build stuff, and they get stuff out to people who otherwise couldn't afford it. And they're great. They're like the recycler in the bike community, and I love it. If you have a chance, if you need like a basic bike commuter, go check out Lucky Bikes.
Yep.
That's one that I really enjoy and have worked with. I've volunteered there. I've worked for them. They do like after school programs so kids can come in and learn how to work on bikes. They play such a valuable role. I think another one was Bikes Together, but that's been turned into something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're bike co-ops. There's a couple names for them.
I'm just going to share my perspective on this. It's, should they support them? You should do it as much as you feel you reasonably can, both financially and time-wise. And you should do it because it's what you want to support, not because it is some bullshit marketing technique that's part of your image. If you want to support this organization or that one because you believe in their mission and what they provide, do so as you can, whether that's financially or whether that's providing product for their yearly auction, that kind of thing. Do that as you can, and do it reasonably. And if you believe in what they're doing and you're donating to their cause, you're not going to regret that.
Yeah, it's
Don't fucking connect it to ROI at that point. Like, be smart, be reasonable, support what you believe in, people you believe in, people you know, and let it be. Let them do their job and take what you provided for them.
Well, I think
That's my position.
A big part of it, of this whole conversation, is a lot of people get into the cycling world because they're passionate about cycling, and so pick the things. Like, there's some things that you just do because it's the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get a drink out of your fridge. You know
What
why?
he means is he's going to get a fuzzy water drink.
Yeah. You can still hear me. I'm in
Yeah.
the fridge. That's because we have wireless mics.
That's true. Anyway, that's always been my perspective on that stuff.
Scary, dude. Next
So,
thing.
yeah, next. Go,
Things
go,
that
go.
bike shops.
It's 9:10, so let's just go yes or no down the line.
Infrastructure, transportation and infrastructure advocacy. I think,
No.
did we cover that?
Nope. That advocacy is different than education. Bike shops is part of advocacy. Again, it's really
It's a
hard.
voice, but you're not the leader.
You're not the leader, and only if you can provide enough time. Like it's that stuff will suck so much time out of you.
Now,
And I know it's good, but like it's not the place. You got to make money. You got to run a business.
yeah, and now I have worked at a shop where you get a call from somebody from the city, and they're like, "Hey, we want to know something about the cycling community."
Answer the question.
Yeah. Like I've talked with RTD. I've talked with City of Denver. Yeah, I'm happy to sit down and have a 15-minute conversation. But like,
Nope.
what are some of the situations that you've run into?
Whether or not you should get the word out in the neighborhood of where your shop is on measures that are coming up. Should you be
Oh.
telling people about that and sort of putting out information like that? Attending meetings.
That's an advocacy group. That's something like Bicycle Colorado.
Or even just individuals, but there's a little pressure that gets put on bike shops to sort of be part of that, like
Community hub.
Yeah,
Bicycle rodeo. We're gonna switch real quick.
bike rodeos. Yeah, sure, if you want to. Moving on.
Kids,
Kids are great.
deal with kids.
Kids are great. If you want to do a bike rodeo, do it.
In Denver, we have a big event called Bike to Work Day, and that's
Yeah.
where, like, 30% more bikers that haven't been on the road all try to ride their bike,
Bike to work.
Yeah.
Should you participate in things like bike to work?
So a big part of Bike to Work Day is there's stations all over the city, and
Yeah.
people provide snacks and drinks and stuff, and then there's usually a big party afterwards on that day.
Yeah. My answer is yes. Do it.
Get
Do
on.
bike to work day
Bike to Work Day is great. It's one day a week.
a year.
Year, yeah, not
And,
weekly. No, our show is weekly.
Our show is
Uh,
well, and it just shows. I mean, if you believe in bicycles as a transportation solution, then yeah, it shows that you believe in that. So do it. Moving on. That one's easy.
event support.
Event support. Usually this falls in the line of either donations to or technical support for things like the MS-150,
Yep.
which is a popular one. These ones are tough.
You have to be very specific on what you're offering, and yeah, as a
I'm
mechanic.
going to put it this way. Very small shop, yes. Very big shop, yes. Middle, no.
Okay. I think the thing
If
that
you-
I've run into is a lot of times people expect a lot, and you have to know when to say no. Like, hey,
Right.
we're just doing derailleurs and brake
Right.
adjustments, and that's it. Because I've literally been at events where I have a line of 10 people that need little things, and somebody comes up and they have a blown up hub. This happened at an event.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't fix this hub. And they're like, well, I can't do the ride. And it's like literally the bearings
Sounds like
are
you need
falling.
to work on your triage skills a little bit better, buddy.
The hub is falling apart, and
Right.
there's no bearings inside, and it's all crumbling. And it's just like, you should not ride another mile on this. You're just metal on metal. Like,
Yeah. That's kind of my point is if you're small and you kind of have in a sense, the time to
I think-
to commit
yeah.
to it, then, because I've done a ton of these, especially when I was smaller or just me, and it was tons of fun. Really enjoyed doing it. Really kind of challenged my skills in various ways. Kind of like that. Like, oh, how do you handle, figuring out what's most important to deal with among all these people at this point. Good stuff to be able to learn how to do.
Like you said, triage though. Like,
Yeah.
do you help one person and spend an hour
Right.
on one person's wheel, or do you help 10 people with small problems?
But if you're a big shop and you have the extra kind of like staff to be able to send somebody to do this, and you have a pre-built sort of like tool set and set of things that they take and they go and they do it and it's pre-made for them, you can do that as well. If you're kind of in the middle and it stretches you kind of to really be able to do that, maybe you're definitely not going to get a day of return on your investment.
well,
And you're going to be lucky if you see anything like residual later.
be very clear with what you're offering. When you do events like events where you're doing quick tunes and stuff, you're not there to do full tune-ups. You're not there to
Yes,
do maintenance
I would
for
say
people.
never say you're doing tune-ups.
Never say you're doing it, because that opens you up to like
Yes.
truing wheels, and people need to take care of their bike and do maintenance. You're there for a broken chain. You're there for a derailleur that got bent. You're there for a quick, tune on something. And what tends to happen at events is people are like, oh, they're offering free service. Like, you will get that guy who, or gal.
Right. Well, it's just the
That
people who
wants,
walk
like,
up
a
and say,
tune-up.
heard you're doing free tune-ups. No, we're not. All right.
Like, oh,
We need to call it quits real quick soon here. I want to kind of hit the overarching topic or the overarching theme that comes up with a lot of this stuff. You've said it a few times, and it comes up, and it is, should bike shops build community? Now, I did a quick Google search kind of on this idea, and it's not at all infrequent that people say that bike shops should be a community hub, or that they should be a location for the cycling community or the building of the cycling culture. Just on Reddit, one little post here.
quick fire.
This person says, I'm thinking of opening a bike shop. What should I think about? Anyway, first response is, the first most profound thing, it would be a welcoming community.
Like, what does that mean? So the person asked, opening a bike shop, and you need to have a welcoming community.
Yeah.
Like, that's like a weird thing. I think what they mean is like good customer service.
I don't know.
Like,
not necessarily.
I think I'm saying and think
The
that
Radavist, who we talked about last week
Yeah.
in part of our talk about
a welcoming community. So
um,
you're not going to walk into a bike
Price Closet
shop
closing.
and have a community waiting there.
They have a whole article. This was back in 2018, so it's a little dated, that says community is everything. Absolutely everything when it comes to bike shops.
Yeah.
All right. Community is absolutely everything. This is a whole article from bikemag.com, which is a bike magazine, right? It says you're using your local bike shop wrong. You need to think of your bike shop for more than you think, which basically they're saying you need to think of your bike shop as a resource for community and education, which is things we've talked about. One other little note.
Like, I think that community is getting used as this like coverall, and it's like, let's back up and think about what's being offered in there. Like, you should have Curtis Cole, exactly. What other business has community? Like,
That's a question I want to ask too. What other business do you frequent that is responsible for building the community around the activity?
I got it. Bars.
False.
They're there to build community.
No, they're not.
What are you talking about? They make a place where you can go to drink and hang out with other people. Like, if any other business. Like, I'm not going to my local Nissan deal. I'm not going to Toyota.
But apart from providing a location, what other work does a bar do to build community?
They hire the guy that does karaoke.
Okay, fair point.
I mean, out of all of this, I'm literally racking my brain about what businesses create community, and I'm like, well, bars, like a pub, especially I think in outside of
They'll
America.
host game nights, trivia nights.
Yeah, like just get out of the house and do something.
Yeah.
So are we asking bike shops to be a bar? Because that's been tried.
It's always tried. Bars, coffee shops, right? But yeah, that would have some nice Japanese restaurants.
Why doesn't the bike
good.
shop have trivia night? Let's put another thing on bike shops to do. Like the mechanics
Yeah. Oh yeah. You've done nothing else. Maybe let's have another thing where you gotta host trivia night.
Or karaoke.
And then everybody's showing up and you're like, guys, sorry, I gotta finish. It's a Charger 2 damper and the bladder split, so I have to put a new one in. I didn't know.
All I'm saying is Toyota-thon, That creates community, dude.
It creates community.
There are a bunch of people with Tacomas that are just like, let's go to Toyotathon, dude.
You know what else creates community?
What?
The organic eggs being on sale.
Dude, grocery stores. Why aren't grocery
stores
having
building
cooking
community?
shows?
Yeah.
Like why aren't they teaching you how to cook your food?
How to cook your food. Exactly.
You know? Why aren't the local Ford dealerships?
Why isn't Best Buy having a Lost marathon to come hang out and argue about that ending?
So,
but this is this is one of the big ones, and this is what one of our original comments at the beginning of the night was like. He said the bike shops should be a place for, I think he said community.
Yeah, something about the
community-oriented clinics, rides, workshops, the things that are functionally reinvestment.
Reinvestment, yeah.
Why? Why? I sympathize with the sentiment and with the idea. Natural Grocers has best organic eggs for the cheapest.
But do they teach you how to cook them?
They don't.
Or multiple ways, or how to make, like, I want to know how to make a good custard, and you need eggs for
custard. Natural Grocers is
custard.
not going to help you do that.
All right.
No. Or I want to connect with other good custard makers. I want to connect with other good, with other connoisseurs of
Custard.
yellow yolks, orange yolks. Can Natural Grocers connect me to other people who also enjoy very orange yolks? They don't do that. But this is the stuff that gets sort of placed on bike shops to be this location where people can gather and connect, and you can build community and build culture around your job. Like, why is it part of my job to provide a culture for you? Why isn't that other people?
Well, I think in shops that I've worked with, other people have stepped up and said, hey, I want to do this cool thing. I want to do it at night. Will you host it? And that's awesome. That is community to me, when somebody from the community is like, can we do yoga in your store on a Saturday? Okay, what do I need to offer? Like, okay, I have the location. You guys come in, you do some yoga. Great.
Senior Martinez says that sometimes his local Natural Grocers does have cooking nights.
He's very into the Natural Grocers.
Well, maybe they're building community.
Maybe.
But I would
I just
argue
think
that he does not know any of the people who also attend those cooking nights. Prove it. Prove it. Who have you met from a cooking night at Natural Grocers who you have connected with after that night? Nobody.
I think the point is that it gets put on shops, and they have to pick and choose what community things they're going to do. And some shops don't do anything. They're a business. They sell a thing, it goes out into the world. That's your responsibility to take that. They're selling a commodity. And then other shops come in as, hey, we need to like train people because we want you to have the experience that we've had. We want to share that experience.
That's good.
And make sure that you go out and you ride the cool trail that's at your level, that and you know how to adjust the suspension, and you want to do that. And that's also awesome. But it also
that's
takes
a very good point, where part of what we're doing as bike shops is we're really hoping that other people continue to do the thing that keeps us employed.
Yeah, I think there's a middle ground. Yeah.
But also that we like to.
Oh, that was a big one. But there's a middle ground too, where the community also has to work with the bike shop to help facilitate that.
Yeah.
See this motion? It's the ocean.
Is that
baby.
facilitating?
Facilitating.
This is the facilitation.
We work
This is
around
the
each other.
facilitation.
Facilitation. Yeah, because shops don't. I mean, some shops make money. Some shops don't make a lot of money.
Right.
And to put more things.
Most shops, almost no shops make a lot of money. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I think my point with that was that also with all this, a lot of the time that people want events and things are in the busy season.
Sure.
So it's like,
But then the shop owner wants to do it during the slow season, and nobody's interested.
So you
Ask me how I know.
Yeah, like, let's do really cool events when you're slammed and you have 30 bikes backed up to repair.
Right.
And you have to build bikes and you have to stock shelves and you have to do all the things to run a shop. Let's have a family game night that night. And that's what gets tough. And then, yeah, in the off season, no one's thinking about their bikes. And you're like, I have all this time to do events and do all this stuff, and no one wants to do
Which
it.
brings me to a topic for a whole nother show, which is bike shop ownership is not for family men or family people.
No.
Bike shop ownership is not for family people. If you have family, you should not own a bike shop.
I mean, retail in general.
If you're single or if you're dinking the shit out of life, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about?
Dinkin'?
Dink?
What?
You know what a dink is?
Nah, you have no idea.
Dink. Dual income, no kids.
Oh, jeez. What's that like?
That's what I'm saying. If you're single or if you're dinking the shit out of life, yeah, then you can really commit like the extra time that goes into the building of community. I've been there. I've tried it, and the building of community is actually rewarding. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like when you get, even if they're not there in your place, just spending tons of money. From my perspective, like having people there in your shop or in your place, kind of regularly, or at your events, having a good time, and then going out and enjoying the sport that the activity that you're supporting, it's awesome. Very hard when you need to be home to have dinner with your family.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the things that I've done is my other YouTube channel talking about just bike parks. One of the things is like once somebody purchases a bike, where do you go ride?
sure.
And I've dedicated a certain amount of time to do videos about places to ride, pump tracks, skate parks, some trail riding. But that's easy to share that experience. Like, hey, go check out this pump track. They just built like 7 new pump tracks in Denver, by the way. And,
Which is awesome. Yeah.
And there's a new bike park south. So if you live on the south side of town near Centennial, DTC, I think it's Dove Bike Park, has a new bike park, by the way. I'm doing a video on it here soon. But that was a big thing. Also, that city government doesn't do well is just put content out about their parks and facilities. Like,
Sure.
like what level is this? Is this for beginners, intermediates, and pros? Is this are there bathrooms? Is there stuff for kids? These are all things that build community. People just don't know about a lot of the public parks that we have here in Denver, or even some of the public trails. So, is that a job of a bike shop?
Kind of like with all of these, I think the answer is within reason.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, the bike shop doesn't need to assume responsibility for all this stuff. And I really hope that consumers cannot expect all of it from them, because there's just too much that you can be part of. Like, if you're, especially in a seasonal market like Denver, like you're working, I've always said that you're either sitting or sprinting.
Yeah.
Right? You're either sitting in the winter or you're just going 120% during the season, and you're making all the money you can make and you're doing everything you can do. So to continually add in all this stuff that doesn't it doesn't exactly bring you in money. I know it adds into your branding and how people see you and all that stuff, but like it's still so much time that you have to invest as an owner or as a
You have to
as a
pick and choose
manager.
your battles.
There's only so much that you have, and like reality is you've got to do the work that's in front of you, help the people that are in front of you, and then do whatever you can that's reasonable beyond that. And then if shops are doing stuff during the wintertime, I guess the only thing I would say is go to their things. Go to their things.
It has been years. I've worked at shops for 15 years.
Yeah.
And winter events, it's like, hey, let's do events. We have time. We have energy.
We got time and energy.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey.
And nobody comes because all they care about is skiing.
Let's go skiing. Let's go
Fucking skiing.
slide down hills.
Oh, snow sliding.
Rolling down a hill versus sliding is much superior, in my opinion.
Agreed, 100%. Rolling on dirt versus sliding on ice. No
Listen,
question.
every day you ride a full suspension mountain bike is a powder day.
Yeah. Next week will be why skiing. Hey, I will tell you, Vail Resorts doesn't care about building community.
What are you talking about? They opened a resort.
They give zero shits. They are not building your community. For
And
you.
they have a bar there. You can go build your community in a bar.
You definitely
Sing
can.
karaoke. Well, I think that's going to...
That's what we can do tonight. There's so much more, but we'll call it quits.
We're going to call it quits because
That
it's
was
9:30.
that was a fun chat.
We crushed it tonight.
Yeah, buddy.
We'll see you next week. Remember, live long and prosper.
False but true. Exactly.
False but true? What's that?
I think he was talking about what I was talking about.